Alright, so today we will be going over the maintenance on a 1996 3800 T444E school bus. Alright, so starters for maintenance, I always like to start with the air hoses and compressor, just in case the customer has a leak. If they have a leak or saying that it's not building enough pressure, first place that you can check, or first thing you could do to check, is squirt the lines with soapy water, or you can go underneath the bus and check the air tank. That's just the dryer. The homie just dries, but the air hoses flow all the way back rear axle, also on the front axle, but the springs are off at the moment. Yeah. After the air system, I like to check the coolant levels. On here you can see max and add. Sometimes it's max and min, or minimum. You always want to make sure it's in between the two of them. But just in case you want to add more, all you have to do is take the cap off. And this is going to be a pressurized cap. Gonna have a spring in there. Leaves pressure when needed. It has a 10 psi max cap pressure. And then if you're going to add coolant, you're going to add it in here and it'll cycle into the system. If you're going to release it, then you're going to come underneath the front. You see, there's this little nozzle right there. Just open that nozzle and it releases the coolant. One common way to test the coolant is using a hydrometer. Just gonna stick that thingy up in there. And then you're gonna fill it up to the fill level, which is all the way up there. As you can see, water does not do very much at all. And the coolant in the truck actually seems to be pretty good. Next up, we do engine oil. Usually visibly check for leaks and stuff first. This thing's absolutely disgusting, but that's all right. So to check the oil, all we have to do is lift up on this. You see there's oil on there, but we're not going to check it using that oil. Clean that off. Stick that back in all the way down. And then we're going to look at it. See, right at the full line. If this thing would focus. Says full right there at the end. When you want to change the oil, you usually take off this fill cap. Always want to have a drain pan here, but then you remove this nut right here. Usually has a brass ring underneath it that you have to replace every time you pull the plug, and then you just let all the oil drain out. After that, you replace your oil filter. Make sure you drain everything out of there, then clean up the surface, and you make sure to pull the old ring out and put the new ring in, lube it up just to make sure it seals correctly. After that, your cap's already off, so then you're just going to end up filling the motor back up with oil, which is only 15 quarts of oil. You also want to replace your air filter. And look at this one, they're usually white. It's kind of dirty. So you just pull this screw, loosen this up, cap will come off, then your filter will slide out. There will be a rubber ring in there as well. Replace that, throw the new filter in. Also want to make sure to reset your air restriction gauge by pushing the button, just to reset. Minor detail that you always want to check up on: windshield washer fluid. Make sure to pop the top, fill it up. Don't want a dirty windshield. Alright, check your training fluid. You're gonna unlock the dipstick, pull it out. It's gonna be this little wavy dude. sure not to sling it everywhere. I'm probably gonna do. Same thing as checking the engine oil. You're not gonna use the first swipe. Clean it off. Shove it back in. And you're gonna make sure it's all the way down. Make sure to lock it. Pull it all the way back out. See, it says hot overfull. It's way up there, so maybe this transmission's a little too high on fluid. When you're closing it, you always want to make sure to push it all the way down and lock it. To drain the tranny fluid, you always want to make sure to have a drain pan. But that little screw right there, you're going to undo that. And it's going to drip out all the tranny fluid. And then that one right there, you're going to undo that, put that screw back in. And the tranny fluid, you're just going to fill till it starts dripping out of here. So that's usually about 4 gallons, 16 quarts of tranny fluid. Alright, you always want to check your power steering fluid as well. It's going to be this little bitty thing right here. You're going to do the same thing as usual, clean that off. Right here you can see, right below full. While you're underneath the vehicle, you also want to do just a visual inspection. Make sure they didn't take it to someone cheaper than you. Also want to do this simple checks like the air pressure, stuff like that. You also want to visually inspect your shocks, your leaf springs, and all your joints. Make sure everything is well greased up and there's no cracks in anything. As you can tell, this thing's nasty. If you wanted to change your rear axle fluid or diff fluid, there is going to be a drain plug right there. Pull the drain plug, pull the fill plug, let it all drain out. Put the drain plug back in, tighten it down to torque spec. Fill up to there until it starts leaking. And then tighten it back down to torque spec as well. That's going to be the basics of the maintenance on a 1996 International school bus with the 7.3 Power Stroke.